Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Jeddah Cornish Circuit here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for yet another edition of the Monkey Mafia Esports League. Tonight, the grid looks to take on this track that's been branded the world's fastest street circuit. It's not really an overstatement whatsoever, considering that I believe 70% majority of this track is taken at full throttle. It's massive, absolutely massive. We're in now to the final 5 rounds of the season. Round 11 tonight, Austria next week, Qatar after that, Netherlands and Imola to round out the season. Wasn't here last week in Monaco, because it turns out we only had 4 drivers finish the Grand Prix. Your top 10 in drivers go like this. Shariah leads Lancey, his teammate, 249 to 223. Gab and Caesar, the pair of McLarens, 3rd and 4th at 210 and 186. Reimer 179, Cynical 174, Slayrized 121, Gazboy 114, Fireballer 108, and Mazda Guy at 88. As far as the driver standings are constructor standings concerned, McLaren leads Ferrari by 30 points, 396 to 366. Alpine 234, Red Bull 221, Aston Martin 217. Actually, quite a good battle there in the midfield. Alfa Romeo 209 in on that as well. Mercedes 131, Williams 119, Haas 57, and AlphaTauri 54. Only 13 on the grid tonight. If it really gets to the point where we either lose drivers due to DNFs or, we could even turn this into a highlight reel type video where we cut along in the action every once in a while. Not a bad idea. Actually, we might do that anyways. But what we do know is George Mazda Guy is going to be out on track here shortly. He's going to be the first driver on track here. Every time we visit the circuit, I recall the time I raced here in a league race. Suffered migraines throughout the rest of the night afterwards. This track requires so much focus from the drivers. You really do have to be at your wits' end every single corner of every single lap. It is quite definitely, I would think, one of the more difficult tracks we have on schedule. Really in any league. It doesn't matter how talented you are. This track does breed mistakes from drivers time and time again, and I'm thinking we may see some of that tonight. This edition sponsored by Voodoo Ranger, as it turns out. Lightwork, it looks as overtaken Mazda Guy here as he makes his way through the hairpin of 13. Banked corner. Seems like once Zandvoort has come into play here, we've seen a lot more of these banked corners take place, which is not necessarily a bad thing. We have turn 13 here. We have, I want to say that turn 9 at Abu Dhabi, that one that in the new configuration they just put in, that's like a banked corner. Should be pretty good as Lightwork, well, he's gone off track there slightly. But remember, they've actually done a lot of work to this circuit. I'm sure you could remember the first few escapades they had here. Is that the right word, escapades? I'm not even quite sure, but the first few times they raced at this track, they had a lot more blind corners than they have now. They've adjusted a lot of it. Specifically, I'm talking about that turn 22 and 23. We'll take you along for the lap now. Lightwork across the line, starting his first time lap of the day into this 90-degree left-hand corner. Back end's come quite ways around then, actually, as he now makes his way into turn 2, and I have to say, I think he may have abandoned this lap, so we'll go back along then with Mazda Guy, who's in behind him, making his way through the rest of Sector 1 here. In towards turn 4, tricky one. They've actually taken away a lot of the apex that was there, so you can't cut that corner now. Very much a blind corner through this 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 sector. Very tricky to do just that. Got to watch out for these raised curbs, because we saw Mick Schumacher have that incident in 2022, and we're going to see a lot more of that today. Those curbs, that car does bottom out very easily. Through the hairpin of 13, through 14 now, into the braking zone of 15 and 16. Does pretty well. Once you're done with that, it's flat out through the rest of the second sector until you get to that 22nd corner. DRS activated here. Kind of widened the track just a little bit. There's the braking zone at 22. Exits that corner into the spoon section of the track. It's going to be flat out here again out of 24, 25, 26, and down into the braking zone of turn 27. What kind of speeds is Mazda Guy pulling here? He'll be at 209 by the time he gets to the braking zone. Through the final corner, back on the throttle, easy as you like. Slayrized actually in behind him, and As Mazda Guy come into the pits, well, I thought that was actually a pretty competitive lap there from Mazda Guy. Slayer Eyes has gone 128.330. I'm a little concerned or confused as to why Mazda Guys decided to go in. I thought that was a pretty good-looking lap. Driver who is going to be restarting one here is going to be that of Lightwork, who I believe now, if we look at his battery, perhaps, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and assume that this is going to be the lap to look out for here. He's actually taken turns 1 and 2 very sharp, it has to be said. Typically, you see them take that wide entry into the first corner and then through the second as well. Oh, but he's just hit the wall on the inside of turn 4. As you can see, the front wing is gone on that left front side, and that's what we were talking about before. They've taken away about 2 meters of track space to the inside of that corner. In the previous games, you'd be able to cut that and take off some tenths. Not anymore. Shariah Coleslaw, 127.595, currently sits atop the table by a good 3/4 of a second over Slayerized. Next around the line looks like the AlphaTauri of Merck, who making his way into the spoon now. Behind him, the McLaren of Caesar, as well as the Aston Martin of Gasboy on an outlap here. Merck through turn 27 gets very close to the outside wall just then. DRS activated once more to the line he goes, and it'll be P2, 128.301. He's going to be about 0.8 of a second off of Shariah's time there. Not bad at all. Yeah, 0.7 of a second. Good enough guess. 0.7 of a second separates Shariah from Merck at this point in time. Next to the line, I believe, will be... Oh, I tell you what, well, it was going to be Lightwork, but he has invalidated his attempt. So it's going to be no-go from him. Let's see if Caesar can put together a good one here. What he's done is he's tried to get a little bit slower, flick on the battery, down the front straight now and in across the line, and he'll be starting one here. The McLaren team has actually had a pretty respectable season so far. Let's hope to see they put together another good one here. Through the first complex of corners, looks pretty good. Here's turn 4. Now this is where Lightwork hit the wall. And you can see there, he's done it quite well that time, but that's where Lightwork had gone off and hit the inside barrier that previous time. Looks as if Caesar's doing quite well at the moment. Cars seem to have handled those curbs quite well, as we have a yellow flag coming out of the final corner. I believe it's VTech, who's about to start another timed one here. Either that or he's on his way into the pits, and it looks as if he might be on his way in. It looks like he's on low fuel. But Caesar through the DRS section now. Well, almost. He's got to get through 16 and 17 first. VTech on the intermediate tires for some reason. Let's go ahead and get his telemetry up here so we can catch the speeds as he gets his way in towards turn 22. He's 205 at that point. That's a really fast. Does bottom out on the inside curve through 23. Let's see what kind of speeds he pulls here into the braking zone. Fastest we saw so far was 205. And he's going to eclipse that 207 into the braking zone. I say 205. I think we had 209 actually for a good minute there. But Caesar, 207 into the braking zone. Across the line he's going to be here. It's not going to be pole. It is going to be second. 127.813. Less than 2.5 tenths off of Shariah Coleslaw. Good lap from the McLaren. Speaking of McLarens, next up is going to be Gab, who is making his way into the spoon at this point in time. He'll be the next driver to start a timed lap, as well as it will be the Aston Martin of Gasboy, making his way into the spoon now. Let's see what kind of speeds he's pulling here. Getting closer towards the braking zone here. He is 207 by the time he hits the brakes. Through 27 he goes, nice and tidy on the outside. And unfortunately, it has to be said, 6.5 seconds off the pace. Something tells me that wasn't the lap to look out for Gasboy. I think this is going to be the lap to look at here now. 90% battery. Let's go along with him for this ride around. Through turn 4, he's actually gone quite slow through that. So some of the other drivers we've been seeing have been a little bit quicker through that section, but now comes the tricky part, the raised curves through 6, 7, 8, and 9. Exits the corner. He's actually handled that one quite well. And in now towards turn 13. His teammate of Ray Ray is about to start one here shortly. Really riding the outside wall coming off of turn 13. That's something you won't see much in the qualifying session. When we get to the race, you kind of see that because sometimes the drivers try to manifest a second line on the outside of that corner. He's not quite done that. I think what he's tried to do, he's tried to build up extra speed at the I'm sorry, Lancey's just gone off here. Can we go along with that? Oh, I've lost what McLaren it was, but Lancey has binned it. Early indication going through the tail end of the spoon part of the track. Let's see if we can catch along where Slayer Eyes was, and this is about where the scene of the crime happened. I'm not rightly sure what has happened with that of Lancey, but here comes Gasway. Well, he's definitely had a smack out of the final corner that time. He'll have enough to come around to the end of the lap here. Let's see what he has. He'll go 1:29.420, improves by 4.5 seconds, still finds himself 2 full seconds off the pace. Coming around the final stage of the lap now, we've got Reimer about to begin one. He's got the Alfa Romeo of Mazda guy ahead of him, who goes P5, 1:29.294, is now about half a second behind his teammate here. Reimer through the first set of corners. This is his first timed attempt. 8 minutes remaining here. Through turn 4 goes Lancey in his Alpine. Shariah Coleslaw making his way out on track now for yet another couple of laps attempted here. Reimer seems to be handling this first sector quite well. 32.9 through the first part of the lap. Through turn 13 he goes, holds it really well, but again gets really close to the outside wall. That was something he didn't see much of when we used to visit these tracks. Now it seems as if a lot of drivers tend to try and go for that outside line. It was difficult because if you didn't take that corner slow, sometimes you would get quite the hefty dose of oversteer. Doesn't seem like that's the case now, but here's Reimer going through the second DRS zone. Through 22, holds it very nice. DRS is going to be activated here. .27, 210 miles an hour. That is outright fastest we've seen so far. By the way, Caesar has gone P2, less than a tenth behind Shariah. 6 minutes and 50 seconds remaining here. Reimer has gone P5, 1:28.369. About 3/4 of a second off of provisional pole at the moment. Next driver around the line is the Mercedes of VTEC. Out of turn 27 he goes. And across the line, VTEC will go out P3, 1:27.965. Improves by about 4 seconds there. Moves within 0.4 of a second and onto the second row for the Mercedes of VTEC here. Very nicely done. Red Bull to the line now of Senegal is gone. Well, he's just gone P4. Now resides 2.5 off the pace. That moves VTEC down to 5th. And before him, the Alpine of Lightwork had just put in a lap. So he goes 3rd, is now within 1.5 of Shariah. And about 4 1/100ths behind that of Caesar. Next around the line is Shariah Coleslaw. He has invalidated here, but I think this is kind of his outlap anyway. Let's see. Is he going to be coming back to the line? No, I don't think he will. I think he's going to be making his way into the pit now. Perhaps that was his timed attempt, and it's just not gone well. He's gone off track somewhere, and that's the end of that run there for Shariah, the provisional pole sitter. 5.5 minutes to go. We've got a couple cars on their way in now, most notably Slayerized on low fuel. Reimer coming out of the final corner. He's surely on a not competitive lap as well. Here's Gab in the McLaren, who has yet to put together a time. Himself and Ray Ray, the two drivers still yet to put one on the board, as well as Lancey, who did not make his way back to the pits before finding the barriers earlier in the session. Gab coming to the line now. He's going to be starting one. Let's go along with the McLaren here. Into the first corner. Well, he's taken the first corner rather sharp, but then, as you can see, he's gone wide on the exit of turn 2. So he may have lost some time there. Through 4. Holds it well. Doing quite good so far, has to be said. A very clean-looking lap. Exits turn 9 and 10. 32.8 through the first sector. Not bad. I think Reimer was in that 32-second range as well, so this will put him early indications around that P7 mark. 4 minutes and 20 seconds remaining here as the McLaren of Gab goes through in towards the rest of the second sector here. DRS going to be activated. Brakes at a 204 mile an hour. Oh, but then he's gone off there. He's gone too deep into the braking zone at turn 22. And that lap is going to be all for naught there. Unfortunate. That looked to be a very solid attempt for Gab, but it's all going to not be worth all that much as he's invalidated. He's gone too heavy into the braking zone, and that's about that. We've got the AlphaTauri of Merck here. He's 0.2 of a second quicker through the second sector, making his way into the spoon now. Going in towards turn 28, DRS activated. Remember, top speed we've seen so far is 210. Merck is about 3 miles an hour slower, caps at 207 as he breaks in towards turn 27. DRS activated across the line he goes. Improves by 1 spot, improves by a quarter of a second there. Only leapfrogs slayerized, and oh, by the way, only 3/100ths of a second separate those two. Next around the line, looks like we're going to have one of the Aston Martins. It's going to be Gasboy, who at the moment is half a second quicker through that second sector on this attempt. Into the braking zone he goes, caps at 210, so he's tied Reimer for the highest top speed we've seen so far. DRS activated here. Across the line goes Gasboy, and, well, he is going to improve by about half a second, but does not improve on the leaderboards. He's going to stay P9 at the moment. Either that or he's leaped George Mazda by that 1 spot. Not ideal, but still some time left here. Well, not really, to be honest with you. Gab is making his way through the final sector now. Very low battery. He's gotten quite the tow there from his teammate of Caesar on his outlap into the braking zone at turn 27. 206 miles an hour is top speed. He's on low fuel. 2 minutes remaining here. DRS is going to be activated. And at the line, Gab is going to go P9, 128.658, off by about a flat second. And now, with 1:50 remaining, Caesar is the driver to watch here, as Shariah Coleslaw now making his way out on track. Let's see how Caesar manages this lap. That time takes as we saw from his... Well, I tell you what, Gab has gone off somewhere. Well, he's retired on track. This is ahead. There he is off the outside. He's clearly retired on track that time. Looks like VTEC is actually crashed out here, exiting. Yeah, oh, interesting. He's bunched up with the Ferrari of Shariah. Well, that is a quite odd turn of events. Shariah's picked up a 5-place grid penalty for the collision with VTEC. And unfortunately, we only caught on to the tail end of that skirmish there, but that was a very odd situation to have. I think maybe did VTEC lose the car on his own and collected Shariah and brought them into the barriers on the inside. And Shariah has picked up a 5-place grid penalty courtesy of the game. Well, Caesar, either way, is still a 1/10.5 faster through that second sector. And oh, by the way, that might be what he needed to take pole position here. If he can nail this final sector, he may have it. Into the braking zone, he'll cap at 207 on the way in. He needs a perfect exit here. I think he may have a fair shot at pole. Oh, a little bit squiggly on the way out. That one may not have helped him. 25 seconds remaining here. Caesar coming to the line. And he misses out on pole by 3/100ths. It's a 127.628. Finds himself 3/100ths behind Shariah, although at the moment he will still be taking pole, considering his 5-place grid penalty for whatever the hell just happened with VTEC. So our final queue of drivers coming through now. Shariah, Merck, Slayerized, Gasboy, and Mazda have done all they could, but we do still have a couple of drivers here on timed attempts. Lightwork, Cynical, and Reimer, I think, are going to be the final 3. As well as Ray, I think, is coming through the final corner. He may be on low fuel. Caesar's already put in his final attempt. Lightwork's gone purple sector 1 as he makes his way through turn 13. Holds it well on exit. You can see some debris there on the outside. Hopefully nobody runs that over. Oh, but Lightwork has overshot the braking zone, going through turn 17. For some reason, the lap is still going here. This is slightly odd. They didn't invalidate his attempt. Did he maybe hit the wall? And he's about 0.7 of a second slower, so we'll tail on with Cynical here, who at the moment is purple sector 2. Reimer behind them, making his way here shortly. Let's see what kind of speeds he pulls into the braking zone. He's going to go 208 on his way in. Reimer 210 on the way into the braking zone here. Let's see, Cynical ahead. And then Reimer behind him, the final two drivers here. Cynical getting the tow from Lightwork ahead. Cynical goes pull. Does Reimer take it? No. Reimer can only manage P5. Cynical goes pole position, 127.475 for the Red Bull driver here, and that's exactly what he needed. And oh, by the way, Shariah still has the 5-place grid penalty. That's going to move Caesar up to second, Lightwork to third, Reimer to fourth, and I think VTech to sixth. And also maybe Merc to seventh. I don't quite know math, but what we do know is a very odd turn of events for whatever happened with the championship leader. And Cynical is going to start this race on pole. Shariah, 5-place grid penalty. Registers second, Caesar third, Lightwork fourth, Reimer fifth, VTech sixth, Merc seventh, Slayerized eighth, Ray ninth. 10th is Gab, 11th Gazboy, 12th Mazda Guy, and Lancey did not put together a time. He'll start P13. I tell you what, quite a bit of competitiveness in this top 8 drivers, all within 0.6 of a second of each other. Might be a very good Grand Prix here. Stick with us. So after the technical difficulties, the formation lap is now underway. As it looks here, only 3 drivers have chosen an off-compound attire. Reimer and VTech have taken the softs. Lancey has taken the hards. So it looks as if Reimer and VTech are both hoping for that early safety car. And that's pretty interesting, considering Reimer in the Discord earlier today was complaining about how the tires didn't felt like they had lasted anywhere longer than 5 laps. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to stick along with the pack here and be able to keep up. Quick note again, Shariah Coleslaw starting P7 after his... well, I don't really know what the hell happened with him and VTech, but what I do know is that Shariah's picked up a 5-place grid penalty because of it. So, that's about that. Should be a very interesting Grand Prix here today. Cynical's going to have a lot of work to do. He's got Caesar and Lightwork, as well as Reimer right behind him. It's a second-row lockout for the Alpine team. And, by the way, both of those Alpine drivers are right quick. Big look is going to be at Lancey today, considering he didn't get a lap put down in qualifying, starting P13. But if I have any doubt, I tell you what, no doubt in my mind that if there's anybody capable of pulling off a last-to-first challenge, it's going to be this guy right here. But he will have to survive. This track is going to, and it usually does perform, some really intense moments and a lot of close action amongst the rest of the grid here. And, well, I tell you what, it is essentially a high-speed Monaco. There is no runoff pretty much whatsoever. So you really got to be careful, but we'll have to wait and see if Cynical can do a good job here. 10 to 12 laps is that possible strategy for the soft to the medium. So the one stop then, soft to medium? I mean, that doesn't sound quite right, though. You don't see that nowadays. You don't see that one-stop strategy happen much anymore, especially starting on those soft tires, so we'll have to wait and see. Cynical, assuming for him he's going to have the right side of the grid heading into that first corner. He will be initially at that disadvantage of having the outside line, but he will have the inside through into the second corner, so that is going to help him. We'll have to wait and see as he does the burnout and gets himself into his grid box here, followed by the rest of the grid. 25 laps here and a lot of points up for grabs as the Ferrari team definitely what looks to be at somewhat of a disadvantage with Shariah starting in the middle of the pack and Lancey starting at the back. So should be a very interesting Grand Prix to be had. A lot of drivers looking to improve in their standings respectively. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to happen here today. We'll go along with Caesar as the rest of the grid lines up here. Looks as if Gazboy phasing through the Ferrari of Lancey. And I think now we're about ready to go. Yes, we are. As the drivers lined up on the grid, the lights will be coming on here shortly. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and eventually 5 lights. And They are off here in the Monkey Mafia Esports Series, and Caesar, I think he got a pretty good start. He's definitely going to have the inside line, but not before Cynical is able to jump well away to the lead here, followed by Caesar, followed by the pair of Alpines who were able to hold position. VTech battled temporarily with Merc, not enough to really move about any positions, but here side by side is, well, it was temporarily the McLarens battling it out there as Gab looks as if he's lost a couple of places and now is trying to battle behind with that of George Mazdagai as Shariah Coleslaw gets around Merc there through a very odd part of the track to do just that. Very good looking move, it had to be said. Amongst probably what was, I was going to go ahead and assume Calamity, but it's, at the moment, everything stays clean for the most part. Lancey has not moved up as we were expecting, but I think that's more or less just him trying to be careful in the opening stages here. He doesn't need to throw away his Grand Prix here on the first lap. We'll have to wait and see what transpires with that driver. But for now, here's Ray Ray trying to pressure Slayerized here for that 8th spot. And atop the grid, Caesar is now within half a second of that of Cynical as they make their way through 22 and 23. In pursuit as well are the two Alpine drivers, but they're not necessarily close enough just yet to make anything happen as they make their way down towards the final corner at turn 27. This is interesting here. Reimer way down to the inside. Lightwork had to back off, and he's going to lose 2 spots. VTech goes down to the inside as well. Wasn't necessarily an aggressive move from Reimer, but I think Lightwork maybe had panicked there, thought they were going to collide, and he's had to go well wide in the corner as Caesar takes the lead of the Grand Prix as they make their way into the first corner. Behind them, Reimer still hunting down the back here of Cynical and Caesar, but those soft tires are going to do well, but it's going to really depend on how long they're going to be able to do that well. VTech on the soft tires as well. He was one of 2 drivers who took that compound to start the race. He's up to P4. For the time being, Lightwork there has really been done in then, and he's lost those 2 spots. Very crucial. Shariah Coleslaw under pressure here from Merc. Shariah's actually relatively fallen back behind the rest of the grid here. He's he's about a second and a half, I'd say, behind that of Lightwork. Of course, the leaderboards on the left side of your screen aren't working very well, so we'll turn them off for the time being. But it has to be said, Merc very much pressuring the Ferrari here as they make their way now in towards the second DRS section. Of course, they won't have it until next time by. But either way, some great battling here in the early going. In fact, now Cynical is now within 0.3 of a second of Caesar as they make their way through the spoon and in towards turn 27 behind them. Reimer's going to have to defend from VTech, who wants it round the outside. He's not going to have it now, but oh, look at this. It looks as if Lightwork is being overtaken by Shariah around the outside, and now Merc is in this as well. He's going to have to tag along in this pairing. However, for the time being, Lightwork is losing spots very quickly. And as they go into the first corner, Reimer down to the inside. Well, I tell you what, he's actually gone up the outside that time, and he's put Cynical and Caesar behind them, and then the Red Bull and the McLaren make contact and open the door for the Mercedes of VTech. Well, it sounded like someone just hit the wall. Someone had hit that wall through that section of corners. It has to be said, Caesar at the moment, his car looks very understeery as they make their way into turn 10. Doesn't have any visible wing damage, but here comes Lightwork trying to find the outside of Shariah into 13. And he's not quite going to have it, but he's still right there. Then Lightwork switches back down to the inside. I think Shariah maybe had some oversteer. The wheel spin coming off of that 13th corner nearly goes down to the inside and hits Lightwork. But DRS activated now. It's going to be one hell of a train going here. Shariah trying to make a move on VTech as they go into the 22nd corner. Well, I think Shariah's gotten away better then. He's going to have the inside line, and VTech is going to know that, well, he's not going to have the ability to hang on to that position, and he will cede it to Shariah. But VTech's still in a good spot here. I think if he gets a good enough exit out of that final corner, he could have DRS again, and he will. Look at this absolute train of cars heading down the front straight here. It is quite brilliant to see. Well, there goes VTech down to the inside on Shariah into the first corner. Not quite. Not quite there. Good effort from VTech, but not enough. Lightwork tries the inside. Oh, that was contact then. Merc's actually going to go around Lightwork. And Lightwork is definitely not off to a good start here. He has lost 4 spots in the opening 4 laps. Oh, Ray Ray's gone off at turn 4. And I'm thinking as he lost front wing as well, because he was off towards the barriers on the outside. Yeah, wish I'd get a better camera angle here, I'd be able to tell you. At the moment, it still looks as if he's got relatively enough pace. Yeah, I don't... No, he has lost the end plate on the left front, yeah. I was about to say, the pace didn't look all that bad, but when he gets to anything having to do with steering the car, it's going to be quite a problem. It'll also hurt braking performance as well, keep in mind. It's a 10th and a half here. Merc trying to get around VTEC. I tell you what, he's got a fair chance. VTEC is in quite a little bit of trouble here. He'll have DRS, but he's not necessarily gaining to Shirai ahead. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead, Cynical will go down the inside, as well as Caesar. Reimer will lose 2 spots then, on the way into 27. Oh, as they exit the corner, yep, all looks good there. Merc getting around VTEC only just. Reimer somehow kept the spot from Caesar, and now he's going to try it around the outside of Cynical. He'll have the inside into turn 2. Contact being made there, sliding about the very little grip here. And Reimer will get ahead somehow. I wouldn't necessarily call that a bump and run. Both of them struggling for grip there, going through that first section of corners. By the way, the top 4 cars within a second of each other here. The Cynical have a look. I tell you what, Shariah had a peek there at Caesar. Not quite. Not enough to make anything happen as they exit turn 13 into the rest of Sector 2. At the moment, Cynical 3/10 away from Reimer. He'll have DRS as well. Reimer's going to have a difficult time defending this position. Remember, the softs were only really about to go to that 10-lap mark. I think it's what it was, either 10 or 15, something like that. But either way, they've got to be starting to get off now. Shirai Koslov very close here to Caesar. He's going to try it around the outside. We've got Mazda guy who has retired, and the safety car on track. This being exiting the 8, 9, and 10 complex, very similar to what I believe we saw in the same way Mick Schumacher had his accident. Shariah Koslaw, according to the game, did have the position, and now the drivers will flock to the pit lane. A little bit of contact happening there towards the back, it sounds. Yeah, look at this. The Alpine of Lightwork is almost nudging Merc into the pit lane. Hard tires going on. Reimer's got mediums. Softs going on for Caesar. That's a bold decision. Shariah, I think, has gone to the hards. Gazboy has stayed out. He'll take the lead of the Grand Prix. Reimer to the mediums. Shariah to the hards. Caesar to the softs. Merc to the hards. Lightwork to the mediums. Slayer Eyes to the hards. Cynical to the hards. Lancey to the mediums. Gab to the softs. VTEC to the mediums. And Ray Ray, unfortunately, is not going to gain any positions out of this. And Gazboy at the front is on the mediums. I tell you what. About an even split between the 3 tire compounds, and actually looks as if the softs only have the 2 drivers on them, but otherwise, I tell you what, it's quite even. 5 drivers on the mediums, 5 drivers on the hards. And I'm interested as to why Caesar chose the softs. That's a bit of a bold decision. Pretty sure the safety car is going to be at the end of this lap, but I'll step aside anyways for the time being. So the safety car will be in at the end of this lap. A lot of different tire strategies to be had here. We're about to begin the 8th lap of the Grand Prix. Not even halfway through yet. It was George Mazda guy's DNF off at turn 10. 11 or something like that caused the safety car to come out. Again, Caesar on the softs, Gab on the softs. So the McLaren's taking that very different strategy, has to be said. Reimer on the mediums, he has inherited second place. Gasboy, who stayed out, started on the mediums. He will lead the grid back to green here. Doesn't really have any intentions of backing the grid up here. He's going to get right to it. As green flag once again out on track is Reimer really up against Gasboy here. The slipstream is light work. 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane. He will retire. Unfortunate for him, as it looks like Cynical and Slayer Eyes side by side through the first corner. There goes Lancey trying to poke his head into this battle, as well as Reimer does eventually get around Gasboy. Apologies for not being able to see that maneuver. There's actually just... I didn't expect that to happen at that part of the track, but Reimer has gotten around the Aston Martin of Gasboy here. Gasboy's actually gone wide at a turn 10. He's going to have to deal with Shariah Coleslaw, who is outside now on the way into 13. And Shariah will make that one happen. So it looks as if even those fresh hards are better than those 7-lap-old mediums at this point, which is slightly odd, I would say. I wouldn't think the degradation of the Delta is that big between the tires at this stage, but it looks as if Gasboy does appear to be struggling on those tires. And now is Caesar trying to find the inside, as well as Merck. Merck on the hards as well. Meanwhile, Slayer Eyes is now down 1.5 seconds to this battle here for the 4th spot. As old Gasboy's gone off, and I think as Merck hit the wall there, it certainly looked like he did, but either way, Gasboy loses 2 spots, and having outbraked himself into turn 22, as now Cynical trying to find the outside to Slayer Eyes into 27. Not quite going to have it, but he switches back. Well, I think he thought about switching back here. He'll tuck within the slipstream of Slayer Eyes here. Slayer Eyes is really trying to find a way around Gasboy. Meanwhile, it looks as if Gab has set the fastest lap. Slayer Eyes locks up under braking, but does still somehow find the line, and now Cynical has to get around Gasboy as well. Gasboy is losing spots left, right, and center, and he'll lose another one here to Lancey, I think, in the coming moments. Gasboy, I think, staying at... Well, he was... Oh, Gab is retired! The McLaren is off! This being coming out of turn 4, and we have our second safety car of the day on track, as Lancey's retired as well. This is behind them coming out of turn 10. Lancey and Gab retire not necessarily simultaneously. Gab loses it going through turn 4. I think he may have hit the inside wall. Lancey, I think, has just plain lost the car going over the curb. Coming out of turn 10 and 11, and the Dutchman's day is over. Second place in the championship, and the 4th car to retire here tonight. And that brings us down to 9. And it has to be said, Lancey was in amongst the pack there. Before we had gone away from him, it did look as if he was trying to battle with Gasboy for position. Gasboy's come away okay. Let's see if he has any visible damage here. I'm going to go ahead and peep the Discord real quick, and at the moment, no. It looks as if the car is fine. You know, I think if it was that much contact with the Ferrari, maybe we would see some damage, but that doesn't appear to be the case. Well, the safety car on track after a wild turn of events here. Caesar on the way in. He's gone for the mediums. Gasboy as well. No front wing being repaired for Gasboy here. So it looks as if, yeah, just a genuine strategical stop. He does opt for the hards with about 15 laps to go this next time round. Safety car on track. I'll step aside as it sorts itself out. Car will make its way in at the end of this lap. Interesting detail, VTech is actually pit under that previous lap of the safety car, and he has gone from the mediums to a new set of mediums. So VTech perhaps playing some strategical games here. As far as the positives and negatives go, Shariah Coleslaw up 5. He belongs to driver of the day at the moment, and Lightwork unfortunately did not finish. He's down 9 positions after he did not finish the Grand Prix. Well, it is Reimer who will lead the charge back to green here, followed by Shariah, and then Merck, your top three, as Reimer is not wasting any time here, getting immediately back up to speed. Nearly a 7/10 of a second gap as they make their way into the first corner now. Shariah is not able to get anywhere closer, although Cynical may have temporarily had a look to the inside of Slayer Eyes, but not quite. Reimer will lead the grid here as they make their way into turn 4. Cynical now within 0.3 of a second of Slayer Eyes, and I tell you what, he definitely looks to be at better grips of his car. Oh, but he's bottomed out on the outside curb, and he's really had to step on the brakes there. You can see the car got, well, not necessarily out of shape, but it wasn't going to turn being bottomed out like that. And Cynical is now going to lose a lot of time back to Slayer Eyes. In fact, he's going to be under pressure from Caesar on fresh medium tires. The top three becoming slightly dispersed here. Reimer in the at this time being has good clean air and is pulled out to 0.9 of a second ahead of Shariah. In fact, it's almost a second now. And I tell you what, Merck definitely looks to be hot on the heels of Shariah as they make their way into 22. Three-car battle here for the 4th spot. Caesar trying to find a way around Cynical. Cynical very close to making something happen around Slayer Eyes here as they make their way into the spoon and into turn 27. Cynical has the outside, and I think he is going to outbrake Slayer Eyes there, but Slayer Eyes is going to be able to strike back and have the better line through the corner, and they're going to remain side by side as they exit turn 27. Reimer has the fastest lap. He's now a 1.5 seconds outside atop the grid at the moment, as Merck pressuring Shariah Coleslaw within 0.5 seconds. Oh, Slayer Eyes, the back end of the car got out of shape there. Nearly collected Caesar in the slide, but at the moment everything stays okay. In fact, they're going to be side by side here. Well, I tell you what, they nearly wanted to. Merck is now within 3.5 of Shariah ahead for the 2nd spot, as we're about to eclipse the halfway point of the Grand Prix here, just about. Well, I think at this point they've probably already done it. To the inside, Slayer Eyes is going to have to defend Caesar here. He'll have the outside. Caesar chooses to stay low to the corner, which is not necessarily a tactic you see often anymore going through that section of the track. Meanwhile, Merck, yet again now, within 2.5 tenths. May have lost some time there through turn 17. He's not going to have DRS just yet. Still looking for it back to Shariah here. 0.2 of a second. Closing in. Yeah, he's not going to have it in turn 22. That would be quite an impressive feat to be had. But now, Merck here. He's not had DRS, but it does appear that he's using his energy store. Well, actually, not really. In fact, Shariah is using it more defensively here. But Merck wanted to send the dummy down to the inside, switches back to the outside, and go back to the inside once more. Doesn't get around Shariah, but once DRS gets activated next time by, it's going to be slightly more easier. It has to be said for Merck, because Shariah is in quite the hole at the moment. He's 2 seconds behind Reimer. As it looks now, 2-car battle into the first corner. It's Caesar getting around the outside of Slayer Eyes, who drops down to P6, and oh, by the way, the pairs of VTech and Ray Ray, as well as Gazboy, now trying to get on this battle for the 5th spot as well. Cynical has gotten ahead of Caesar by about 1.5 seconds, so for the time being, Caesar will have to defend here without the aid of DRS. Meanwhile, Merck again is very close to being able to challenge Shariah here, but this is the section of the track where he lost time last lap. We'll have to wait and see if he loses any more. Exits turn 13 as VTech gets around Gazboy there. Into the braking zone at turn 16, enters at 5.5 tenths, exits at about 6.5 tenths. So Shariah at the moment is about 1/10 quicker through the slow speed. Well, Slayer Eyes has retired from the session. We have another safety car on track. And he found himself, I believe that was coming out of turn 17, that complex of corners. And that car no longer in one piece, and the safety car out on track again. Once again, that'll have to mean Reimer will be fed to the wolves here of Shariah and Merck, and perhaps Cynical behind. Interesting fact about Reimer, just a couple of weeks ago in a different league that I also commentate, lost out on the win side by side at the line, lost out by 1 point, by just over 1/10. So we'll be thinking about that one here, and it was a great battle, that race. Just didn't really get out of the final corner as well. So VTech and Ray Ray will take command of the grid here. Reimer has chosen another set of mediums. Caesar to the softs, from an other pair of softs. So medium tires for Reimer, Shariah, and Merc. Softs for Cynical and Caesar. And Gazboy also on the medium tires. I'll step aside again as we have ourselves another safety car out on track. So the safety car will make its way in yet again. We are within 10 laps to go, and once again VTech has chosen a odd strategy and decides to pit, and he's now finds himself on the softs. The interesting here for Ray Ray, he'll find himself, I would say, in quite the hole here with 8-lap-old medium tires. I think he'll definitely be able to go to the end at this point. But he's going to have one hell of a bunch of pressure from Reimer and Shariah, as well as Merc behind. My eyes are going to be on Cynical, though. Finds himself on the soft tires, which is, I was going to say unorthodox with the amount of safety cars we've had so far. It may work here in the early goings. Green flag back in the air once again, as Reimer actually finds himself under a lot of pressure here from Shariah. Shariah looks down to the inside. He's not going to have it. In fact, Merc almost had a look as Caesar and Gazboy are on their way in here. Very odd time to do just that. We've got 6 drivers here really battling for the lead of the Grand Prix. Well, 5 really. VTech is about 2.5 seconds behind, but the top 5 all battling for the lead here as they snake their way through the first sector. Merc really close to Shariah here. Shariah really close to Reimer. And Reimer, well, I tell you what, he's not necessarily all that close to Ray Ray, but he's getting closer, that part's for sure. As now, Shariah looks for the inside line, in towards 13. Contact with the left rear tire of Reimer. No harm, no foul, we stay racing. Definitely still looking forward here. He's going to have the outside through turn 16, and he ducks back in line. I tell you what, some great close battling here amongst the top 5, as VTech is also now back within a second of this train for the eventual lead of the Grand Prix. Ray Ray's having to do one hell of a defensive job here, and for the time being, he's doing just that. As the gap from the leader back to VTech in P6 is less than 1.5 seconds as Reimer tries the outside on Ray Ray, as Shariah's going to try it as well. Looks like a NASCAR race here being doubled up into the final corner. Look at this. It looks as if Merc perhaps did he make contact with the outside wall. Reimer has the outside lead, outright lead of the Grand Prix. He's going to have to duck down to the inside and block that line from Shariah, as we have 3 abreast behind them. Shariah's going to try it round the outside. Not quite going to be there. In fact, now Cynical may get enough getaway then to be able to challenge. Not quite, but very, very close indeed, as now VTech is caught up to the tail end of this battle here, and he's got his sights set on Ray Ray. Ray Ray actually may have had the not a good go then through turn 4 in that complex. He's actually lost another second or so back to the tail end of this battle here. VTech does manage to get around Ray Ray down to the inside. The driver on the fresh soft tire, Cynical here, trying his best. Being that he's on the soft tires, you'd think he'd have a little bit more pace than those on the mediums. That's not quite the case. As now Merc's hit the inside wall going through 16. He's going to lose time. Looks as if he's kept his front wing together, but that was a noticeable impact that time. No DRS activated yet. They'll snake their way into turn 22. Reimer has the lead, 0.3 seconds ahead of Shariah, but he's not going to be able to hold on to it with only that much gap. All the while, Merc has been rather quiet in this battle. Shariah down to the inside. Is he going to try to outbrake Reimer into the final corner? He certainly wanted to. Is Reimer going to get good acceleration around the outside? Well, they're going to be side by side on the way to the line here. Shariah is going to lead the lap of the Grand Prix. DRS now enabled. It's less than 0.5 seconds as Reimer tries it round the outside. He'll have the better line into turn 2. Very close here. And Reimer's going to stay ahead. Shariah's going to get out of shape. Does he lose the spot to Cynical? No, not quite. All the while, Merck is in this battle as well. He's just trying to see if he can find some form of advantage here. VTech is now in this. Ray Ray's lost an additional 3 seconds to the back end of VTech here as Caesar goes fastest. Oh, but Merck nearly loses the car going out of turn 10. He's able to hold on to it. VTech will go around the outside. Is he going to be able to get the spot? Yes, I think VTech will. So VTech's strategy of staying out of trouble and getting himself into the better positions is working here. He's up to 4th, and he's still on relatively fresh, soft tires. DRS is going to be activated here shortly for the Ferrari of Shiraya. Less than 3.5 tenths of a second as well, as Cynical in this battle as well. VTech getting closer. He now is within a second here. Merck down to P5. He's about 5 tenths of a second behind VTech. Reimer doing a good job taking the inside. Cynical goes down to the inside. Is he going to get both of them? Yes, he will! Cynical. Not necessarily a desperation maneuver there, but very well done. Pulls off the double overtaking at 27 and takes the lead of the Grand Prix. And now Shiraya and Reimer gotta find a way around the Red Bull here. Reimer chooses the outside. Shiraya got held up behind the Red Bull on the way into the corner. And now they're still side by side through 1 and 2. Reimer has the inside. Cynical kind of got bumped out of position there. It looked like clean racing to me, but it was very close. And contact! Reimer's in the wall! Shiraya's in the wall! Front wings everywhere! And now, Merck off at the back. Reimer, his car shattered. And you had to believe eventually that was going to happen. The racing was brilliant while it lasted. And now Shiraya missing the front wing as well. And yet another safety car on track as Reimer has not finished the Grand Prix. We will be down to 6 at the conclusion of this race, with coming up to 5 laps to go. Gasboy on his way in. It's going to be soft tires for him. He's at the tail end of the grid. Shiraya will almost certainly have to pit here. He's missing at least the end plate on the left front side. And I think, while I'm not rightly sure who else was involved in that, Reimer and Merck definitely. Both of them not finding the end of the Grand Prix, unfortunately. From my look of it, it wasn't really anyone's fault. Just really close racing, and that sort of thing was always bound to happen when you got 6 cars in the span of less than a second of each other. Unfortunately, you take that risk as a racing driver, and yeah, I'm afraid it's a heartbreaking end of the day for both Reimer and Merck. Shiraya, Coleslaw, and VTech on their way in. Shiraya, we figured, was going to have to stop. VTech again choosing soft tires, and maybe are these ones scuffed? Surely you can't have that many sets of front tires of softs. We've got 5 laps to go now. Cynical has the lead of the Grand Prix, somehow. VTech will have second unless Caesar can get around all of them. He's going to get at least Shiraya and Ray Ray here and promote himself up into the... Actually, no, he won't. Well, I thought he was going to be able to. He only just misses out. And now, not only that, he's on 4-lap-old soft tires. That one's not going to be helpful. Well, Cynical will have the lead of the Grand Prix here. I'm sure the safety car won't be lasting much longer. I would assume probably it'll be in at the end of this lap. Wing change, I would assume, for Gasboy as well. Actually, no, he's still out on track. Well, Cynical's got himself an interesting situation here because he's right quick, but every driver minus Caesar and Gasboy are now on fresh, soft tires. And we're going to have less than 5 laps remaining. Can Cynical hold on here? Again, we don't really know the true usage of this soft compound tires. Every single time we see the drivers on them, another safety car comes out and they put on another set. Safety car still on track here, so we're going to go ahead and assume it's going to try to wait for Gasboy at the tail end of the grid here. Although I'd much rather just see the let them race, you know. It's like the safety car will stay out another lap. Cynical's a very interesting position here as Caesar's on his way in. This is interesting here. Is he trying to just extend the safety car any way that he can? He's on the 5-lap-old softs. He's going back on the soft tires here onto what were 2-lap-old softs. I think he's going to lose the spot to Gasboy, perhaps. Gasboy's coming out of the final corner now. But I think that was probably going to be the right choice there for Caesar, considering he was going to be at the disadvantage there. So Caesar will keep P5. Now has 20 seconds to the tail end of the grid here, as the grid now making their way through 8, 9, and 10. Not even into Sector 2 yet, so it looks like the bottom two will be able to catch back up. And that will definitely level the playing field for Caesar and Gasboy. And that will just mean Cynical is at that much more of a disadvantage here, being on those 7-lap-old soft tires. Again, he's been able to take the lead of the Grand Prix here. He's been able to stay out. And he has still been right quick in his own right. We'll have to wait and see if he can hold on. Remember, DRS isn't activated until 2 laps after the safety car comes in. So we may not get ourselves a stretch of DRS here. We'll have 3 laps to go. Maybe that final lap of the Grand Prix, we will have the aid of DRS. And I tell you what, despite there only being 6 drivers on track, there has been some great moments going so far. Enough to keep me entertained. And hopefully we're going to have ourselves a good finish for you here. Ray and Caesar, 5 stops. VTech 4, Gasboy 4, Cynical only 2. And the safety car will be in at the end of this lap. Cynical will have 3 laps between himself and a win here. But will he be able to hold off VTech and the rest of the charging field behind them on the fresh, soft tires? The only benefit for Cynical is there's going to be no threat of DRS here for the immediate future, at least probably until that final lap. Cynical's going to have to get one hell of a good getaway here as he goes through 27. 6 cars, 3 laps remaining. What happens in Jeddah? Cynical's gotten away to a pretty good start here. Green flag in the air once again. It looks like Ray's actually kind of fallen off of the top 3 here just a little bit. It's 0.8 of a second by the time they get into the corner, as VTech all over the rear wing of Cynical here as they make their way in through Sector 1. Cynical's just going to have to keep it clean and mistake-free. No VTech behind him. He's kind of riding the high right now. VTech's had a great race. He stayed out of trouble for the most part. Can he turn it into a win? It's felt like a long time since I've commentated a race that VTech has won, and he's got himself a fair opportunity to do so today. But behind them is the championship leader of Shariah Coleslaw, who is in no position and no inkling to just lay down and let them have it. And now finds himself within 0.2 of VTech here for second place. Oh, but Shariah's gone heavy over the inside curb through 17. That may hurt him. VTech's going to look for the inside here. Surely he's not going to try it into 22. That'd be quite the place to do it. No, not quite. Cynical drifts deep into the corner. He's kind of outbraked himself there. VTech trying it for the inside. Shariah watches on as Cynical now tries to switch back down to the inside. He'll go to the outside, actually. He's going to try to outbrake VTech here. Does he swap down to the inside? He's going to leave the door wide open for Shariah. 2 laps to go this time by. And it looks like Ray, Caesar, and Gasboy are actually kind of out of this battle here. Shariah Coleslaw, fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Cynical takes the inside into the corner. He'll try to force VTech deep. He'll do just that. That'll open the door for Shariah. Shariah down to the inside of VTech. 3-car battle, 3 abreast. Cynical backs out. And, oh, Shariah gets into the wall. He makes contact with VTech, and now Cynical's going to get it again. What a turn of events here, as now Shariah down to P5. Caesar's taking the spot. I think VTech's got damage. Yes, he does. He's missing the end plate on the left front side. I would assume Shariah does as well. Shariah Yeah, he's missing the end plate on the left front. All of that. Oh, and VTech has gone off! He finds the outside of turn 13, and that's going to be the end of the chance for VTech to win the Grand Prix. All the while, Cynical now has himself an opportunity. Ray in pursuit. And Cynical, I think, did the right thing and backed out because he knew that one was going to get hairy, and it did just that. It got hairier than a Bigfoot. And now, Shariah, well, I tell you what, Shariah somehow has managed to hold on to P3 here. Under pressure from Caesar, Gasboy as well. Coming to turn 27 for the penultimate time. Ray has himself an opportunity here. I would think he's on fresher tires than that of Cynical. Yes, he is. 3-lap-old to 9-lap-old softs. The final lap of the Grand Prix underway. DRS enabled. They won't have it until exiting the turn 17 complex and in towards turn 22. And now Ray within 0.3 of a second here. As Shariah trying to hold on to third behind them. The championship leader has had a miserable day in terms of keeping it clean, but if he walks away from the podium, it'll almost be even more impressive than winning the Grand Prix at this rate. It's 0.2 of a second. Oh, but Ray's hit the inside wall! And no, that one may hurt him. The lights, I think, may have been bright there for Ray. He's hit the outside wall. Caesar trying it around the outside of Shariah. Shariah's going to have to outbrake Caesar here. He does. The McLaren's still looking for the inside. Despite the mistake by Ray, it's still 5.5 tenths here. Ray's going to have to keep it clean. Oh, but I think Cynical's gotten a much better exit out of turn 17. DRS activated here for Ray. He's 0.75 of a second behind. He'll have to get a great exit out of turn 22 if he's going to be able to be anywhere close to Cynical here. Cynical's having to recharge. Ray is not. He's getting closer. It's 0.7 of a second. Cynical blocking the inside line. It doesn't look as if Ray's going to be close enough. He's going to really have to send it here. Does he push Cynical high up the track? Ray down to the inside. Oh, but it gets away from him. It gets away from Ray in the end. And Cynical will take the win. Ray, hell of an effort. Caesar third. Shariah fourth. Gasboy fifth. And unfortunately for VTech, VTech will not fit. He'll come home sixth. And that's going to be the end of it here. Hotspot, it's been a pleasure joining you this time out in Saudi Arabia. We'll see you next time.